He said more people voted in Philadelphia than there were voters. And that was absolute rubbish.
And I said something to the effect of, sir, we've done dozens of investigations, hundreds of interviews. The major allegations are not supported by the evidence developed.
Lie, cheat, and steal. Testimony today at the second January 6th hearing reveals that Trump knew he lost.
Is the most explosive testimony, in your opinion, still to come?
I think it continues to be an absolutely shocking event in American history that there was an attempted political coup organized by the President of the United States in order to overthrow a presidential election to stay in office, to seize the presidency. And it's equally shocking that insurrectionary mob violence would be used as part of that plan in order to forestall the counting of electoral college votes and to block the transfer of power.
Following the second day of the January 6th hearings, one thing has been made abundantly clear, and it is that yes, Trump knew exactly what he was doing. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and I'd imagine that a large portion of these hearings has been insufferable for most of you who are watching this right now. Now, not to parrot Fox News or anything like that, but has there really been anything completely new that's come out from these hearings so far? Maybe not, but unlike Fox News' argument that this is nothing new and therefore nothing should be done about any of it, this is nothing new. So why has it taken us so long to do anything about any of it? Most of us here watching this already knew or suspected what's already been discussed in the hearings, but it's still jarring to see the whole thing unfold. As far as the hearings go, I'm for them. I'm not here to disparage them. I think they need to happen. Over the past several years, there's been so much information that's come out regarding not just the insurrection itself, but the whole thing regarding the false claims of voter fraud. There are so many names and positions to remember that I can barely keep them straight in my own head sometimes. And there were so many bombshell headlines, or rather headlines that should have been bombshells, that seemingly just got swept under the rug. It is good to see that that hasn't been the case, and it is nice to see that everything is finally being packaged and presented neatly to the public. But one of the primary goals of these hearings is to prove that Donald Trump knew what he was doing while he was doing it. It's not to determine criminality, as it's not a trial, but it's to present the American people with the committee's findings. They found that, according to multiple sources, Trump was told in no uncertain terms that he had lost the election. He was told in no uncertain terms that no evidence of voter fraud had been found, and he was told by an allegedly drunk Rudy Giuliani to just lie to the American people and say that he won.
But there have been reports from the inside that most people within his orbit were saying were basically being yes men to him.
Well, I mean, a drunken Rudy Giuliani was certainly being a yes man.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Like Rudy Giuliani.
Tell me more about that. What was your observation about his potential intoxication during that discussion about what the president should say when he's addressed the nation on election night?
And the mayor was definitely intoxicated, but I do not know that his level of intoxication when he spoke with the president, for example.
Now, that last bit's getting a lot of traction in the media, but let's talk about it for just a second. If you look throughout history, men in positions of power tend to need something to help them cope with all of that cosmic power that they wield. Stalin, for example, would make his men, who were running the country at that time, get blackout drunk on the regular, almost nightly, something that the HBO show Succession actually referenced. Hitler was constantly on a cocktail of hard drugs, morphine, heroin, whatever, to the point that he didn't even get withdrawal symptoms. And Blackbeard, the pirate, he was a good pirate, but he didn't earn his reputation for ruthlessness until he started losing his mind to syphilis. These are men that today wouldn't be hired to manage a Best Buy, let alone run a country, or an empire, or a military campaign, or a democratic election. So yeah, that's a problem, but forgive me if I'm not as shocked by the revelation as the rest of the media seems to be. Giuliani has since come out to assert that he wasn't drunk, he was only drinking Diet Coke, when he advised the then president to lie to the American people, which I think was supposed to make the whole thing feel better, but we already know that he's a liar, so who's going to believe him? He basically confirmed that while he was advising the then president to lie to the American people, he was totally sober, can't even blame this one on the alcohol. But there's an old Chappelle bit that kept popping into my head as I was watching the first two hearings. It's the one where he was out driving with him and his friend. His friend was drunk and white, and they get pulled over by a cop. The cop was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the friend says, "Sorry, officer, I didn't know, I couldn't do that." And the cop lets them go. The joke is funny because it's a ridiculous thing to say to a law enforcement officer and actually get away with. We talk a lot about how there are two justice systems in this country, and the elite white men of this country tend to reap benefits that the rest of us simply don't have access to. Usually, it doesn't really matter if you know you're breaking the law when you break the law. For most of us, all that matters is that you did. So why the focus on whether or not Trump knew what he was doing when he stood there on election night, claiming voter fraud based on literally no evidence? Because his supporters need to hear it. Republicans need to see it. The people who are still willing to vote for him in 2024 need to know what the rest of us have already known for some time, that Donald Trump is now, as he has always been, a liar. And not to drown you in pop culture references, but I think it's just the way my brain works. But at the end of The Lion King, it wasn't Simba who killed Scar. It was the hyenas, his supporters. Scar had taken over Pride Rock with the hyenas' help. He told them he cared about them. He favored them in his policies to pacify them. But he also thought he was better than them. He despised them. He called them filthy and mangy. And as soon as they heard how he really felt about them, they turned on him and killed him. And they probably ate him. They're hyenas. But here's the thing the people who believe the big lie need to hear. Donald Trump is not a prophet. He's a grifter. After years of the American people feeling gaslit by this man and his colleagues, it's nice to know that everything was exactly as we'd always known it to be. Trump does this thing where he predicts the future. He makes it seem like he's so insightful and knowledgeable about things that regular Americans like us don't have access to, the idea being that he knows things that we don't. Well before November, he claimed that if he lost in 2020, it would be because of voter fraud. Now, most of us heard that and understood that he was priming his base for when Trump inevitably would lose the 2020 election. But his base did not see through it. Trump spent months demonizing mail-in voting ahead of the election and even went so far as to tell his supporters not to vote by mail. Then they were all shocked when thousands of mail-in ballots came in for Joe Biden. Rigged. Trump stuck a loyalist as Postmaster General and intentionally slowed down the mail. Then they were all shocked whenever mail-in ballots took a while to come in. It's rigged. Then he made claims of voter fraud without offering any evidence to support his claim. Thanks to the hearing, we all know now what we've suspected. He didn't offer any because there wasn't any. Still, he didn't need to provide any evidence at the time because his supporters didn't ask for any before they believed him. His preemptive declarations aren't prophetic. They're just a part of his long game, manufactured self-fulfilling prophecies that exploit manufactured confirmation biases. We'll have to see what comes out in later hearings, but really quickly, I'll just say that whether or not Trump was told he lost might not be as relevant as the committee would like you to think, because the hearings have revealed that while Trump was repeatedly informed of the state of his re-election campaign, he also repeatedly dismissed those revelations. Did part of him actually believe his own lies and delusions? Does it matter whether or not he did? Does it matter that he didn't know that he couldn't do what he was doing? Putin's delusional, but he's still a war criminal. Delusion does not and should not exempt someone from retribution for their actions. If anything, it's more of a reason for that person to be stripped of their influence over others.